Oh, I don't have the microphone. Hold on. This blazer doesn't fit like I thought it would either, so it's not really my day. Okay. If people are missing out on the stream because they're on social media or don't know that I'm streaming it, I gave everybody plenty of warning. All right, are we ready? Y'all, I woke my ass up so early. It's 8 a.m. in drag. Shout out to the real ones, me and Caricature streaming these presentations in high whore drag early in the morning. All right, let's watch. Pretend like the last 5 minutes didn't happen. And we're watching this live. Hello, everybody. Oh my god, happy to see you guys. What's going on? Good morning. Splatoon 4. The way I've been wanting to finish Splatoon, we never finished it. I feel bad. It's a cute, like, stream. It's a cute game. I just bought Nintendo Online to play Splatoon again. I played it for like an hour and I was like, ow! Alright, hi everybody. I'm your hostess, NemesisLacroix, at the Ass Crack of Dawn to stream this direct. Hello, fuck you Nintendo for waking me up this early. I slept for 3 hours and we have this day to play later. Hi. Can we get some commotion for the dress? Thank you. Not my best look, but... Hi Spooky Flower, hi Brady Anetta, hi Chrissy Clark, hi Your Boy, hi Denny, hi Brady Anetta. Hi Sapphire, welcome in everybody.
Hello everyone, I'm Shinya Takahashi, and I'll be your guide for today's Nintendo Direct. You just saw a new trailer for Wave 2 of the Splatoon 3 Expansion Pass DLC, Side Order. This brand new story is set in the Spire of Order, where you'll strengthen your character's abilities as
I didn't know there was a Wave 1.
We're developing this single-player DLC so it can be played over and over again. It's planned to release in spring 2024, so please look forward to it. Okay, let's see our first batch of Nintendo Switch headlines.
Oh, I've been wanting to play this. This is only on DS, and I'm like, where is she at?
Donkey Kong. Mario.
Here we go.
The rivalry that heated up on the Game Boy Advance system reignites on the Nintendo Switch system. With his eyes on the prize, Donkey Kong has stolen all the mini
Harry
Mario
Donkey
toys
Kong
from
in
the factory.
HD.
And it's up to Mario to track him down. In each stage, contraptions and other challenges await. Observation and action are vital to your success. Mario needs to reach the key, but he can't quite cross the gap. That monkey's tail looks a little suspicious though, doesn't it? If Mario does this, now he can get across and safely grab the key.
I'm so glad.
platform too high? Reach it with a handstand jump or a backflip.
What game do you want announced? Mario Kart Double Dash 2, but it's never gonna happen. Kirby Air Raid Remake.
Observe and act to collect mini Marios, clear stages, and face Donkey Kong head on. In this updated version of the game, you can play with a friend in local co-op. However you choose to puzzle your way through, it's up to you to recover the toys. Mario vs. Donkey Kong launches on Nintendo Switch February 16th. Pre-orders begin today on Nintendo eShop.
Wait, what? Oh, it's a new one. It's not a port. I was like, what do you mean? That game's been out on the DS.
Save the prince.
Oh, we can
and the
skip.
world.
Oh, mama, we can
Game
skip.
feature survive.
No.
Get to
You're
the
funny. You're
these games
hilarious.
sections. Speed
I'm glad we can skip ahead a little bit
environments,
because that's
each
a
with its
sleeper.
own
That's
dynamic
every
art
presentation
style,
they have that
while
fucking game and it's just so
overtaking your
resident
rivals on the road.
sleeper.
Play the
Nobody
main campaign
GAF.
to unlock vehicles, courses, and more. You can also upgrade your vehicle and style it to fit your high-octane needs. Itching for more racing action?
I'm really
Up to
not,
4
but it's
speedsters
okay.
can up to 4 friends.
This is really
Anya Forger
interesting.
has a new
Spy X Family, that's really cool.
updated graphics.
Thank you. Okay,
Let's
here's
go
some
over
news.
some new and returning gameplay features. Time your
We're
button
up.
presses with action commands to increase damage dealt or decrease damage received. When you time your attacks perfectly, you can now damage all enemies at once. Every successful action command will fill this gauge. When it's full, you can unleash the 3-character
Yeah, we will
triple
definitely
move.
stream this on release.
Depending on your current party, the move will change, so experiment with different combos. During your adventure, you'll encounter
Y'all,
bosses
the
with
state of play
colorful
later today is it's gonna be a
After clearing
sunglasses
the game, you
and
can fight
I'm
some of them
gonna have my
again.
tits out. My makeup is
powered
melting
up
off
bosses
and I'm
aren't
sweating my
gonna
ass
easy.
off. Oh, it is a day already and I just woke my ass up. Oh, good morning, mamas. Can we get some emotes in the chat for the people that are here? Can we get raise the roof and shake your booty? Who's awake at this hour?
Switch system November 17th.
My oomfies, please be
Pre-orders
loud.
are available now
Let's
on
get
Nintendo
loud.
eShop.
Let's get loud.
Hey. Look alive. We're almost there.
Yeah, the
The
music
Nintendo DS game,
let's
returns
get
on the Nintendo
loud.
Switch system as another code to memories. One day, a young girl named Ashley receives a letter from the father she thought had passed away. Seeking answers, she sets off for the solitary Blood Edward Island in search of him. Once
so
there,
hot.
Ashley encounters puzzles and obstacles that hinder her investigation.
The way this outfit I'm wearing is orange, but it reads as red on camera. I was like, I'm doing something different. Like, it's so different.
See me?
She
It looks
also
like the
meets
outfit
a
I wore for the
mysterious
last
boy.
direct.
What truths await Ashley in this place?
And no matter how hard I try, I can't remember Dad's face.
If I wasn't annoyed because I'm a
Who are
grumpy
you?
morning person, I'd be
The
crying.
sequel, Another Code R, Journey into Lost Memories, previously unreleased in North
Y'all
America,
don't know.
is also included.
How sad it
This
is
is
when...
like Juliet, huh?
Never
Play
mind, I'm
both
not gonna get
games
deep
to
this morning.
experience the full story.
Oh, mama, this
Unravel
bob
both
and this flannel,
adventures,
you need to
fully
retire that.
enhanced
That's
for Nintendo
ugly.
Switch when
Ugly.
Another Code Recollection launches January 19th. Pre-orders begin today on Nintendo eShop.
Another Code Recollection includes 2 games. The
When they
Nintendo
announced
DS
Tears of the
game
Kingdom
Trace
DLC,
Memory,
we'll
and
be
its Wii
we'll be
sequel, which was
jumping.
never
Just kidding, I
released
know we're
in
never
North
gonna get
America.
that. What did we
Both
expect?
games
Like, what are we
are
even
fully
gonna see? I don't even
enhanced on
know.
Nintendo Switch. Please look forward to playing them early next year.
I haven't burped on stream in a while.
Next, please take a look at this.
You're welcome.
One day, a loyal toad presented a flyer advertising a show at the Sparkle Theater. Princess Peach and some toads went to go see it. But then,
Is this the Princess Peach game?
The Wicked Grape and the Sour Bunch suddenly made their grand entrance and took center stage. Now, it's up to Peach and the theater's guardian Stella to save the play and the day.
How cute!
This perfect performance has become a terrible tragedy. Luckily,
I'm
Peach
crying,
can
it's
use
just
the
so
power of
emotional.
Stella's ribbon
Okay,
to
wig
face off
change.
against the Sour Bunch.
Okay, wig swap.
The ribbon alone won't always cut it,
Raindrop,
though.
wig swap.
So let's do this.
She gets a wig wardrobe. I'd gag. Oh, you better eat, mother. Outfit change.
Whoa, Peach transformed into Sword Fighter Peach.
I'd gag.
Transforming, she can use fantastic
We have a costume
show-stopping abilities.
change.
Fend off the Sour Bunch with sensational swordplay.
Oh, she likes swordplay.
Can Peach
Okay,
save
femcock,
this performance
you better work.
and its performers? There are more stolen shows to save. Valuable artifacts from this museum have gone missing. Become
Detective Peach.
Investigate clues and
Okay,
track down
outfits. Okay,
who done it.
looks. This is gonna be game of the year. I don't know. Anybody else think so? I don't know. This is kind of game of the year. I
Desserts
don't
have
know.
been snatched from this sweets festival. Turn into patissiere Peach and save it from a sugar crash.
Patissiere Peach.
The
Pusterian
Sour Bunch got
Peach.
their hands on this martial arts school. Become Kung Fu Peach
Serving
and take
cunty
it back
Peach.
from these foul fiends.
Okay. Oh, they said we're showing you all the looks today. Oh, the little braid in the back. Okay.
Many other transformations are just behind the curtain. The stage is set. Our leading lady is ready for the spotlight.
Oh, our leading lady makes me happy. They're giving her
Princess Peach, Showtime. Makes its debut on Nintendo Switch.
Oh my god, it's
March
coming out on
22nd.
near my birthday! It's
Pre-orders
11 days
begin
after my
today on
birthday!
Nintendo
Oh my god! They did that for me and me only,
That was a
bitches.
new look at Princess Peach Showtime.
That's my birthday gift. Y'all better give me those
changes
eShop
pending
gift
the
cards,
transformations.
mama.
It looks like there are more
That's so
transformations beyond the ones
cute.
we showed today, so please stay tuned. Let's continue with some more headlines.
That was fierce AF, I don't know. Bye,
A new
X-Man.
saga begins.
Thank you all so much for joining today. I'm really
A
exhausted,
multi-layered
but I
RPG
appreciate
full
seeing
of
you guys in
rich
the chat for
stories awaits
these. I
in
love you
Saga Emerald
guys.
Beyond. There are 6 heroes to choose from. A young man who fights with sentient puppets. A witch disguised as a schoolgirl to mask her identity. A crime-fighting duo chasing down a mysterious organization.
It's a chop. I don't even care what this
songstress mech
is.
who lost her voice and body.
Diva number 5. Me.
And a king of darkness who was recently reawakened.
My JRPG
Select a
oompies
hero,
might like
then
this though.
follow their
This
journey
looks
through
good, but for
17
me it's a chop.
interconnected
Oh, never mind.
worlds
Hold on. I'm
as
seeing
they
gameplay. I
strive to
lied.
achieve their goals.
I take everything back.
How the story unfolds is in your hands. The choices you make can
Oh,
unlock
I'm back to
different
it's a
paths,
chop. It's a
more
chop.
than ever before
We've
seen
gone
in
up,
the
we've gone
Saga
down, we've gone side
franchise.
to side.
Fight in timeline battles, turn-based combat.
Oh,
in
the
which
timeline
turn
battles
order
me
is
when I'm on
crucial
Twitter
to
fighting the
victory.
oops.
Use special techniques to control the order of actions, or activate team combos to swing the tide of battle in your favor. Saga Emerald Beyond launches on Nintendo Switch next year. The legendary Raider returns.
Okay, Queen, setting up for her
The
release.
first 3 Tomb Raider games, all with upgraded
This bodes
visuals,
well for our new
entering
Tomb
onto
Raider game
Nintendo
that has been
Switch in
MIA.
one daring collection. As the fearless archaeologist, Lara Croft, you'll travel the world and face off against deadly
Smoked a
foes
blunt,
and
now I'm
even
Lara
deadlier
Croft and
legends.
Tomb Raider on the Nintendo
Climb,
Switch.
backflip, and swan dive through perilous quests.
Hello,
spanning
say Mama
different
123, good
countries and
morning.
mythologies. Along
Good
the
morning,
way,
mamas.
You'll solve puzzles to uncover treasures of the ancient world and unravel mysteries.
Yeah, later the
lost
state
to
of play is
ravages
getting me in
of time.
sunglasses with my titties out. This is
faithfully
too much.
remastered trilogy comes with all of the expansions and secret levels for each game. You can also toggle between the original polygon look and
Oh,
the
that's
upgraded
cute. I like when
visuals
they
at
do
any
that. They did that
time.
with Halo. That's
Tomb
cute.
Raider 1 through 3 remastered, starring Lara Croft, launches on the Nintendo Switch system February 14th.
That's cute.
Pre-orders begin today on Nintendo eShop.
Pre-order, not too much. Let's not get
This
comfortable.
detective's got a second
Yay!
bolt of brilliance.
I'm excited for this.
Every great detective starts their day early.
This is Rhyme City, a place where humans and Pokemon coexist. The detective duo of Pikachu and his partner Tim
Hey, Tim.
investigate various
Oh!
cases.
Hi,
Searching
Harry.
for Harry, Tim's missing father.
Oh, and he's the dad?
Tim interviews people. Pikachu interviews Pokemon, and they find the truth together. They'll also rely on other Pokemon to broaden the scope of their
Can I
investigation.
see a Slowpoke?
Follow Sense with Growlithe. Smash rocks with Darmanitan.
I'll flash my titties if there's a Slowpoke.
Peer through walls with Luxray.
No, show me Slowpoke's ability. I want to play
Can
a
Tim and
Slowpoke.
Pikachu
Please,
solve all the
please.
mysteries and find Harry? Find out when Detective Pikachu returns.
Oh, it comes out
Launches
this
on Nintendo
year?
Switch, October 6th.
Oh, wow.
Pre-orders are available now on Nintendo
That's
eShop.
fierce AF, I don't know.
This game's a real toot. Raise your brass for the quirky rhythm game, Trombone Champ. Play the notes in time with the music as best you can.
Literally the question mark League of Legends
How you
ping
play
right
that
now.
horn is up to you.
Hi, Lee, baby. How you
Use
doing,
gyro
Angel?
controls
Love
to
you so
adjust
much.
the
Good
pitch
morning.
up and
38? When did you hit 3
Or
years?
the IR
Thanks for
motion
3 years
camera
and
on
2
the right
months, my
Joy-Con
love.
controller. The controls are pretty unique, and mastering every control scheme won't be
Like,
a
what are
walk
we
in the
watching
park.
right now?
Honk your way through nearly 50 songs spanning various
It's a
genres,
chop.
from
It's a
classical
chop.
to electronica and everything in between. Plus,
Oh, they're doing too much over there. You need to...
together in local multiplayer. Trombone Champ slides onto Nintendo Switch later today.
Oh, that explains it. It's a hot drop. Yeah.
Battle your way to victory.
Listen, we're gonna slide
these
that in
Nintendo
and just
Switch games.
nobody's gonna question it.
10 teams of 3 will duke it out for survival in this
Speaking
online
of League of
battle royale
Legends,
brawler.
does the question mark ping?
Opponents help down to 0 and deliver a finishing blow.
What is this, Ali?
Or shove them off the collapsing terrain.
So,
to
okay,
win.
if you guys are unaware, so sorry, hi everybody in chat. I'm trying not to look this way because my eye makeup on this eye is fucked up, so.
To be the last team standing.
Hi Blonde Barbie, hi Slay Slay, hi Junior, hi Potato, hi Sona, hi Liv, hi everybody coming in, good morning, hi Lee, hi Slay Mama, hi everybody. So if anybody's unaware and doesn't usually watch these directs, these are the larger directs, and they are the most eventful because they're setting up for early 2024 releases. So we should see some big releases, and if we don't, it's kind of sus. But because the year before that was the Bayonetta Iconic Stream, and then last year was Fire Album,
and journey together across this vast world.
whatever. It was a bit. There were Pikmin and whatever, and Tears of a King, whatever. Kirby, whatever. So we're waiting today. I haven't seen really a lot of big names. We got news for Peach, which is coming in March, which is my birthday month. So we celebrate women in March this year. Peach is a Pisces confirmed. And then we have Splatoon DLC, but that doesn't really count for me. And in the Peach game, if you missed it, there's like outfit changes and she's like a theater kid. It's kind of fierce, I don't know. She is the least annoying theater kid I know.
And a 4-player co-op mode. Contra, Operation Galuga.
Did you guys know that Nene Leakes did Broadway? Sorry. I'm watching Housewives and I was like, oh!
Reclaim your destiny.
I was like, okay, Mama, you better. And she had like a sex orgy on stage. I was like, oh!
Grievous tale which speaks of Fevrith, one of stolen destiny, stolen minds, and stolen nations. Yet as the world stands consumed by immense evil, a fallen...
No, like, I'm behind. Like, I'm just watching Housewives that aired in like 2010, and I'm like, oh!
That is the ring of the unicorn,
ancestral treasure of Cornea's royal lineage.
Is this Octopath or whatever you guys love?
Of your ancestors wielding it to
I know you guys stand
purify
these
evil.
games and I'm always like, this is a chop.
The answer is clear as day now. The path before us is laid bare, and all that remains now is to walk it. Walk it I will, Mother.
Oh yeah, I fully checked out when
Traverse an
like
expansive
Portia
world.
and Nini left the show.
Gather new allies,
I was like, it's
forge your
it's
bonds,
not.
and lead the liberation. to
Then like Eva
colonize
from
the
Top
territory.
Model joined and I was like, ow!
Lead a grand army with over 60 unique characters, from humans and elves to massive beasts and heavenly angels.
Today marks our first foray into the mists of despair which hang heavy over our home. It may take days, months, or even years, but I shall see the duties of my bloodline fulfilled.
Atlas and
Oh, it's an
Vanilla
Atlas game.
present the rebirth of tactical fantasy.
Yeah, I know you guys like these games. I'm not a fan, but...
Unicorn Overlord.
Oh,
Available March
Unicorn!
8th, 2024.
Oh, that's near my birthday. You guys can maybe buy that for me for my birthday and I'll never play it. Luigi's Mansion. Luigi's Mansion 4. Luigi's Mansion 4. No, it's happening. No, it's happening right now. I'm manifesting it. Luigi's Mansion 4 is happening.
Luigi's Mansion 2 HD.
Ow!
Welcome to Evershade Valley, a place that's screaming and teeming with the supernatural. Luigi, a faint of heart hero, was sent here to check it out.
No, Mama, Stellar Blade is getting that reveal trailer. I'm streaming the Sony State of Play just to have my titties out shaken for Stellar Blade. We are there to support women. Women's stories matter. Women's stories matter.
Use it to light up dark areas, vacuum up objects, and interact with the environment. It's a handy tool for your paranormal escapade.
I mean, I'm excited because I never got to play 2 because it was only on the
When you
DS,
spot a
but
ghost, pop! You can stun them with the strobe bulb, then vacuum them up.
I kind of want to replay all the Luigi's Mansion games when this comes out because, like, they're so fun. The first one is the best, like, no doubt.
In
But
this game, you'll find ghosts haunting, a former plant research lab, a broken
like
down
they
clock
always
factory
try to
that's
make
full
it
of
like
sand,
Luigi's Mansion
a
1,
mine
but
covered in ice and snow,
it'll never
and
be her.
even more places.
you'll never be Glamour.
These
Oh my god,
troublemakers
hiccups.
use
Hiccups,
every trick in
burps.
the book to
I'm gonna
block your
fucking
path.
die next, I don't know.
Can Luigi summon his courage and save the day? Looking for other ghost hunters?
No, I'm not
Players
actually.
Online can do some exercise across different multiplayer modes.
When me and my oomps play Luigi's
Luigi's Mansion
It's
2
not-
HD
it's-
creeps onto Nintendo Switch next summer.
How was that? Next, we have 2 announcements to share. First, please take a look at this video.
Oh, Jesus. I hate when he comes on my screen and then he's like, we have something to show you, and I'm like, oh, I'm scared. What in God's name is this? Is this Tetris? Oh, it's a Mario block. But what does it entail?
It's a large question block.
Oh, I'm aware.
This question block currently appears on the roof of the previously announced Nintendo Gallery that's under construction in Uji City, Kyoto Prefecture. The official name of this gallery will be the Nintendo Museum. At the Nintendo Museum, a wide variety of Nintendo products from the company's history will be displayed. Construction is going well. and we plan to finish
Not
up
Mario.
in March 2024.
Oh.
We'll share more information, such as the opening date.
Yeah, I would go if,
Please stay tuned.
I don't know.
Next,
They don't even have pictures. They're like, construction will be completed by 2024.
The Zelda and
Embarrassing, I don't know.
are releasing on November 3rd.
That Ganon one, I need for my personal collect.
Mio from the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 game
Hello?
will be released as a set on
Oh, they're
January
discontinuing
19th.
amiibos. Listen to this. He's gonna say amiibos are stopping after these. Listen.
And finally, we have a new amiibo figure to announce.
Oh.
The DLC fighter from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Sora from Kingdom Hearts, is on the way. With the release of Sora, everyone is here from Super Smash Bros. Ultimate in amiibo form. Please look forward to its release next year.
That was a long time coming.
Amiibo announcements. Next, please take a look at this.
Oh, Jesus Christ. He scares me. Like, I'm scared of him. Oh, shit, mama. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
First F-Zero game returns as a 99-player battle royale.
Oh, no. We were expecting an HD remake, mama. No. Oh, that's rotten. That's rotten. That is rotten. This is Captain Falcon's video games. But, like, people have been asking for this, and I was like, oh, wow. That is so rotten. They just teased the fuck out of a new F-Zero game and just didn't give it to us. That is so rotten. That is so rotten.
Feeling risky? Spend some of your power meter for a temporary
Not Nintendo being like, we want to get on in this battle royale
You
action.
can also collect super
So they did
sparks,
this?
which appear when machines collide to boost up to a special path called the Skyway.
Nobody buying this.
It's your best chance at bypassing your rivals and jumping into a higher position.
You better be lucky to get a lobby filled with 99 people, because I know 99 people are not playing this goddamn game at the same time. Let's clock that. Let's wake that up. Good morning, it's 8 a.m. Wake that up. Yeah, you would never see this. You're gonna see like maybe 4 or 5 people.
99 players, 1 winner. It's time to race your way to first
No.
place.
It's a chop.
Because F-Zero 99 will be available exclusively for active Nintendo Switch Online members later today.
More than 30 years after its original release, F-Zero is back as a battle royale game. This title also supports the Super NES controller available exclusively for Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, y'all need to
Online
sell
members.
more. Oh, y'all are pissing me
We
off.
hope you will give it a try and aim for first place. Okay, let's continue with some more headlines.
Kirby Air Ride.
One little hero, one
What in the
hero
League of Legends,
problem.
Tristana and Wait, it is Teemo and Tristana.
Welcome
Wait.
to Vandal City, a whimsical land inhabited by small, fuzzy beings called Yordles. After a party gets a little too wild, the portals holding the land together collapse and throw everything into
Can I play as Lulu and kill
It's up to
Tristana?
you and your knitting
Is that
magic
allowed?
to stitch
Can I kill
Vandal City back
Heimerdinger?
together.
I wanna pull out a gun and shoot
To gather
him.
materials and craft items
Oh wait,
and
he's not a
meals for the
Yordle.
locals.
My bad.
As you continue gathering and crafting, you can weave together new upgrades by unlocking more branches of the skill tree. Enchant your experience even further.
What in the
by
League of
embarking
Legends?
on
And then it turns out
quests
to be in
and
League. I was
hosting
like,
festivals
oh, not
for
them
the
clocking
community.
me. They said, girl.
Can you save Vandal City? And what mysteries will you discover during your magical adventure?
Why are there's so many League games? Oh my gosh. They're doing a lot with the
next year.
the properties. You better. Where's the Zyra game?
Did you hear that? Join best friends.
Oh, I'm so
Nunu
excited
and
for
Willow
this.
On a journey across the frozen wilds of the Freljord. Jump.
I may or may not have some friends at Riot Games that are gonna give us some fun stuff and goodies for this video game. I'm really excited.
Every step taken and each puzzle solved will bring you closer to the truth about these friends and their past. Song of Nunu, a League of Legends story, launches on the Nintendo Switch system November 1st.
Oh, they finally give us a release date,
Pre-orders
November
begin
1st.
Today on Nintendo eShop. Let's move into Formation.
Playing with these chumps doesn't feel like a prize.
Greetings! Welcome to the island.
This tropical resort contains tons of micro games that'll get your body moving. In each micro game, you'll get into a specific pose called a form.
You know what I should start doing? I should start streaming me playing Ring Fit Adventure.
Copy the form shown, then perform the correct action as quick as you
Just
can.
kidding, I forgot I lost it in the fire. Now I'm depressed AF.
The micro games will come one after another, so look alive. Plus, up to 4 players can battle it out in party mode.
I have no idea.
Reach the goal without getting caught by Medusa.
Freeze!
Or settle the score in an arena to be the last one posing. with over 200 lightning-fast microgames and multiplayer modes aplenty. Everyone's in for a wacky time. WarioWare Move It launches on the Nintendo Switch system November 3rd. Pre-orders are available now on Nintendo eShop. A heroic tale will soon unfold. Lead an army of over 100 heroes into battle and put an end to an empire's invasion. Meet Noah, a humble villager. Sane, an officer from the Empire. And Marissa, a forest guardian. These three band together to fight for a common goal. On their journey, they'll meet a variety of heroes who can join their cause. This is your home base, known as the headquarters. As allies join you, additional facilities will become available.
Yeah, can I
You'll
have
be
gay
able to attend
romance?
clubs, open shops, and more. Each hero you encounter has their own backstory and motivation.
I'm gonna need something that's gonna make me cheer my lash off, because my lash is falling off, but I wanna get so wild and hyped that my lash just goes woo!
Trust, betrayal, justice, and truth. A heroic tale will begin when Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes launches on Nintendo
Oh, I know that
Switch,
series.
April 23rd.
That sounds familiar. You look really familiar, Ma.
Participate in some pixel-perfect play. Next stop, Octopia. Travel to a charming parallel world in this paid DLC for Eastward. Help Sam and John turn the pages of a new chapter as they adjust to country life in a mountainside village. Tend to livestock. Whip up culinary delights for your neighbors. And restore
I
buildings
think we
to
have
help the
10
village
minutes
thrive.
left, not
And if you're
even.
new to Eastward, don't worry. You can access the DLC even if you haven't played the main story.
Oh, Liv, that picture's so cute.
Eastward,
I love you so much.
Octopia ventures onto Nintendo Switch this holiday.
Yeah, this is,
Get back into the groove. In this sequel to War Groove, charge across 3 tactical campaigns with valiant factions, including a new Mousefolk faction, the Fari. Plus, you can now supercharge your commander's groove to unleash devastating attacks. Lead a roguelike offensive in conquest mode.
I'm just
Battle
gagged because,
friends
like,
locally
these are
or online.
usually the stacked directs.
Or
'Cause, like,
create and share
They're
your
hyping
own
up next
cutscenes
year's
and
releases,
campaigns.
you know?
War Groove
So I'm
2
like,
marches
oh.
onto Nintendo Switch as a console exclusive October 5th.
Get out of my way!
Pre-orders begin today on Nintendo eShop. Dive and catch fish by day.
Y'all know I'm
Then
bothered with
serve
all
them
these
as
2D
sushi by
games.
night
I'm
with the
never
aquatic
buying
adventure,
these.
Dave the Diver.
There's like maybe 2 or 3 2D games I'll buy in my lifetime, and these are not one of
Use
them.
the fish you've caught to concoct
Can we look
recipes
at the
that
sales
create
numbers
the
for
day's menu.
this and these games?
Tend
I'm
to the
sorry.
clowering customers at your sushi restaurant. Explore an
Oh, it's a
ever-changing
tycoon.
underwater world to
Still a
find
chop.
the best ingredients and strive to exceed culinary expectations. Dave the Diver launches first for consoles on the Nintendo Switch system October 26th. Pre-orders and a free demo swim onto Nintendo eShop later today.
No.
The final wave is
Oh, here we
racing in.
go.
Here's a sneak peek at
Oh my
Wave
god,
6,
yay!
the final
Daisy
wave of the Mario
Circuit!
Kart Deluxe Booster
Yay!
Course Pass DLC.
Let me not get my Toad voice on, like y'all like to clock me. Daisy Circuit is iconic. Very excited. Yeah, oh my god, Diddy Kong! Yes! Funky Kong!
Funky Kong.
Oh my god, yes, bitches! We got it, we did it!
And from the Mario Kart Tour game, Pauline.
Oh my god, we got them!
Key Jet.
Oh mama, they're giving us characters! What? There was only 3 spots left. There was 2. I thought there was 1.
Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Course Pass DLC for the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe game drives onto Nintendo Switch this holiday. Active Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack.
Not that gagging the whole direct.
DLC at no additional cost. The DLC
Oh!
should be purchased on its own.
That just, I'm gagged fierce. That was,
Something new is among us.
And here we go down the gutter. Okay. Wow, that was stacked. Got 4 characters. Wow. Mama, that was fierce. Yeah. Can we skip? Amugas. It's a chop. This is when we were in COVID, and yeah, get your Nemesis 45 sus in the chat. I kind of look like the emoji today. Hey, mama. Notice how the energy just tanked. Let's inspect that. The fungal.
This new map for Among Us is free and launches this October.
What did you think? Thanks for sticking with us this far. Next up, we'd like to recap some of the previously announced Nintendo titles you can look forward to playing from September onwards. Let's take a look.
Oh, that's not. We want new stuff, mama. Oh, we know. You just shut up. Thank you for the recap of everything we just saw. Not them coming for my gig. Hold on, I do this on my show, on my YouTube channel. Y'all better back it up. I do this. So you can keep it cute, I do this. This is my job. Y'all can keep your checks. Let me do my job.
We hope you're looking forward to these upcoming titles. This next video will be our last announcement. Please take a look.
Not the last announcement. Oh, that's not. Oh, I'm sure Slay Mama's really happy about another Mario title. Not the Mario show. Oh my god, it's Paper Mario. Oh, they did every single fucking Paper Mario game, huh? Oh, it's Thousand Year Door. This is Thousand Year Door. Is this a remake or a port? It is! Oh, what if they put all the collection on here? Oh wait, I'm gagged. Oh, I kind of got chills a little bit. Oh, this looks amazing. Well, I'm happy she's accessible now. I tried streaming this and I flopped. I got stuck at every crevice, mama. This game's hard. It looks cute, but it's difficult. '2024 is the year of Mario, I guess. I'm with it. Princess Peach and Mario Kart DLC will eat it up. I will say this direct was kind of disappointing though. Should I send the invoice for my makeup I used for the streams to Nintendo? Cause Intent. Oh!
Paper Mario: The Thousand
That's
Year
it?
Door, originally released on Nintendo GameCube, will return with enhanced graphics. Whether you played the original
Oh,
or yet
enhanced
to play it,
graphics.
we hope you look forward to experiencing this adventure in a paper world starring Mario and friends. That's all for today's Nintendo Direct. Thank you for watching.
Wait, do you want to show something else? Wait, no, come back. Wait, come back. Wait, stop. No. So that happened. Good morning, everyone. Not us all getting gagged. Nintendo said, hold on, you guys want to fix your sleep schedule real quick, ma? Mimi, you want to fix that? They said everybody's waking up early. Everybody's gonna sit down, watch the direct. For others, some of us had to wake up earlier to get into drag to be disappointed. I mean, that's a common thing here for the presentations. I usually get in drag to be disappointed. But that's what y'all live for. Y'all love to see me get mad and upset at these. Y'all love to see me talk shit. And you know what? I'm with it. I don't care. They're not paying me yet. They're never gonna pay me. Splatoon is a Splatoon. So we got Splatoon, Peach release date, Mario Kart DLC, Paper Mario. That's all I can remember. Oh, and that trombone game. You guys want that? You guys want to play that trombone game later? Should we stream that? You guys want to play that? That looks like a good one. Oh, or maybe the F-Zero Battle Royale. You want to play that too? You guys want to get into that? Yeah. It's a, this is upside down. It's a boot. It's not. Oh, that's not. I don't think this mug is gonna make it until 5 o'clock. Do you see this eye? I don't think it's gonna make it till 5 o'clock. So what now? I'm awake. Like, I am up. Like, I don't think I've been up this early and like ready for the day in like a couple years. Like, I am ready. I mean, kind of good because I did need to get on a better sleep schedule because I am moving in 2 days. But, yeah, do you guys want me to do a brunch? I'll do a tip-in number. You guys can tip in the chat. We'll do a tip-in number. We'll do a 1, 2. I'll switch it to my tip-around look. My hello? I was my ex-boyfriend texting me. Okay, hello. Do you accept Roblox? Damn right I do! You guys wanna play Roblox? Yeah, I'm really disappointed. Can we, I don't want to like be meta or anything, but can we do this? Nemesis Nintendo Direct. I can't believe I was sick with a fever and did this direct. Like, I had a fever. I was dying, mama. Yeah, see, this was these are usually the big ones. These are the big whammies. Where's the other one? So this was 9/23. And then I think the other one was 9/11, like unironically, because I remember people saying like, oh my god, it's on 9/11. Oh, 9/13. Yeah, these are usually the whammies. Oh, I don't look good there. Yeah, that's crazy. These are usually the big ones. Huh. Well. So that happened. Excited for that Mario Kart DLC though. We need to plan a Mario Kart stream date. Do you guys want to play Mario Kart with me? Because I want to do that. I haven't played Mario Kart with you guys in a while. So we got 4 new Mario Kart DLC characters, Marshall. That was the only thing in the direct. Also, my makeup in this eye isn't even that bad. It was Funky Kong, Diddy Kong, Pauline, and Peachette were added to Mario Kart. And then Daisy Circuit from Mario Kart Wii. So not terrible. But they announced Paper Mario 1000 Year Door HD remake, and then Amiibos in a Nintendo museum. And then Splatoon DLC. What I'm taking from this is that we need to plan a Mario Kart DLC stream. So let me know when you guys want to do that. Let me know. But now we move on. We're gonna play Pokemon, I think. We're gonna play Pokemon. I have a dress on under this. I think I'm gonna take off this blazer. Because it's really hot. And we're gonna load this up. I think I have to plug shit in. I need to put on some music. That was kind of a chop, I don't know. That direct. That was not the one. They're usually huge direct. Well, I mean, the one that we recorded that I was dying, that Marshy was my assistant on, that was actually a really good direct. And I think that's why they didn't follow up with a lot, because all the Mario games are killing it. Where is my capture card?